States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Chief, you have a presentation?
Mayor and members of the council, I'd like to welcome Tom Jelinski from Country Financial to make a presentation to us. Country Financial, and I'll let Tom explain kind of maybe how their program works, but they're making a contribution to the Wake Park Police Department of the city to help us cover the cost of installing a new mobile camera system in our squad cars. This is a Axon in-squad camera system that will integrate with our body cameras, and it will be simultaneous viewing and a lot of different features like that. So just want to welcome Tom and thank Country Financial for their support, and I think Tom would like to maybe say a few words as well.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I'm Tom Jelinski with Country Financial. I've got an office on First Street South here in town. All right, better? Operation Helping Heroes was implemented by the company in 2015, and it was designed for basically military families and military personnel, and then they expanded it to include first responders. So the company allows me as a rep to pick an association or first responders that I would like to donate to, and I've chosen the Wade Park Police Department to donate the $1,500. So.
You bet. Excellent. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Well, nice.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions or anything? No?
No. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
guys.
All right, yeah. All right, who's the next person with $1,500 check? Review and approve council agenda.
Go ahead.
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Consent agenda. Item A, approve amended 5/6/19 city council meeting minutes. Item B, approve 6/17/19 city council meeting minutes. Item C, approve 7/8/19 city council meeting minutes. Item D, approve Gerald Kuklock to seasonal part-time work. Item E, approve Stephen Burney as firefighter. Item F, approve resolution for off-site gambling license for the Church of St. Joseph. Item G, approve 2 a.m. liquor license renewal for Silverleaf Lodging Group. Item H, approve special animal license. Item I, recertify special assessment for 249 34th Avenue South. Item J, approve police department using DUI forfeiture in police department vehicle fleet. Item K, approve selling of 2 police vehicles. Item L, approve charter franchise agreement extension.
Like to pull K.
Move to approve A through J and L.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Frank?
How are we gonna sell them, chief? County auction or online or
We,
something?
we're working with All Care Towing. They have an online auction that they has worked well for us to sell forfeited vehicles, or in this case, used squads or older vehicles that need to be replaced. So they create a public sale via online auction.
All right. I'll move to approve item K.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Regular agenda, item A, amend CUP for billboard, Jerome Zabinski, reversible trust, Franklin Outdoor. John?
Mayor, member, council members, you may recall that, excuse me, recently we saw the request for the process to allow the 3 billboards on Jerry Zabinski's property at County Road 6 and 137. Even at the time when the council reviewed and approved that just in the last month or two, We knew at that time that they would likely be making a request to amend that to adjust the easternmost billboard, to adjust that location a little bit, but due to the move, we thought it best to make sure we're taking that through the process. So they came back, we ran that, ran that through the planning commission. The planning commission recommended approval. We did not have any comment or concerns from the public or anything received during that time. The adjacent property is owned by Jerry Zavinsky as well. So really no issues there. It's only getting further away from the existing or the nearest most proposed billboard by about 150 feet or so. So I'm recommending approval. It's a pretty straightforward request, just basically an adjustment. They identified an issue with a Excel poll and the visibility before they wanted to get going on that. So I'm recommending approval with the conditions as outlined in the report.
Council, questions or your approval or denial?
I'll move to approve with the conditions stated.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Item B, review proposed drive-through circulation plan, Taco Bell. John?
Shauna, if you could toggle to the site plan, please, that would be appreciated. I'll pull it up on my screen here as well. We'll get the site plan up and going. The request is for the, what's commonly referred to as the Silverleaf corner lots at 6th Avenue South and Division Street, the southeast corner of the intersection there. The proposal we have is from Taco Bell. They've entered into at least a pending purchase agreement for that property. The development itself doesn't require a review or approval from the planning commission or city council, except for the drive-through component. The ordinance is a little bit unique in that situation. That's only the drive-through component that requires a review, and that is directly from the city council without necessitating a public hearing or planning commission review. So we're bringing that forward tonight. The renderings are also included in the packet as well, just to give you an idea of what the proposed building would look like, as well as the floor plan. But we'll focus on the drive-through component at least first, and then follow up with any questions. I would note that a couple representatives of the project are in attendance tonight as well. The proposed drive-through runs along the north and western side of the property, as you can see, accessing from either direction, either via Division Street or 6th Avenue South. Basically, drivers would pull in probably off the 5th Avenue South that runs to the hotels and the event center, drive in, pull into the stacking lane, and then exit off the southwestern side of the building, from which point they could either take their pick of accesses or egresses to head out in either direction. We reviewed this internally at a staff meeting with the city staff and city engineer, and really there was no issues or concerns identified. The layout is actually preferable in my mind, and I think our other staff would concur with that, in that it keeps pedestrians away from the drive-through lane. A lot of places in town, it's pretty common to have parking on the other side of the drive-through, where you run the risk of people coming through and potentially getting bumped as a car comes by, and that's not an ideal situation. The stacking lane is pretty deep. It well exceed our minimum of 3 stalls, but that's based on the Taco Bell service model from our discussions with them. They serve their food very rapidly with minimal wait time. They steer for a different model than some other places where they may make you wait for a while. So they're getting people in and out fast. So there's not a big concern with people potentially getting caught in the stacking lane. With that being said, I don't have any issues or concerns with the proposal. Our staff did not as well. We're not reviewing the site plan or the floor plan or anything, although those do meet, at least thus far what we've seen in the preliminary plans, those do meet the criteria. We would have to see our full building permit plans come in to make those formal determinations, but we have been in contact with the developers. We've had at least one meeting so far and have been in touch, so they've been good to work with so far. So I'm recommending approval of the drive-through component as proposed for this particular project.
Council, questions or concerns? Wishes?
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Just for further discussion to Taco Bell, welcome to my neighborhood.
He can walk to you now.
Second of all, are you aware of Minneapolis trying to ban drive-throughs?
Yes, we are. That's why we're coming to towns like you guys.
All right,
That's
I got a
crazy.
question here real quick that I just kind of noticed. Your proposed sign, is there a sign on that corner already, John, for the motel, or is that going to be an add-on?
Not at that corner.
It's down.
There might, I believe there's a development or for sale sign at this time for it. That would have to be removed. The Silverleaf, Hilton Garden Inn, and Marriott and Park Event Center sign, that's on their own property down a little bit. This is a separate property, so they're allowed their own sign. We've had some preliminary discussions on the sign location. I'll back it up to the site plan here, maybe we can take a look. It doesn't get as close to the intersection as probably anyone would prefer, just because of the county has that significant amount of right-of-way there. But they've said it is workable for their purposes.
It's not going to be over height? Are they not going to ask to be over height?
will you ask for a sign variance height?
No, I think we're satisfied with the height that we proposed, which I think is the
Okay.
same height as everything else along the street.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, welcome to my neighborhood.
Thank you.
My wife will love you.
All right, item C, consider massage therapist license revocation for, I'm gonna slaughter these names, but so forgive me. Su Feng Yang,
Good evening, mayors and council members.
just a minute. I have to move that I need somebody to move that the public hearing be open
So move. Second.
at 6:42. Okay,
Thank you, Mayor. The name is Jiang, Miss Jiang, Jiang, correct?
yep.
Yeah, Jiang Shufen. Dear council members, I'm here today, I'm representing Ms. Jiang here. And right now, as you understand, the case is now in the court system. The allegations against her is a serious one. But the police report that I was given for today's hearings, the police report in terms of the allegations of illegal activities, and I believe you all have a copy of the police report. You know, police stopped 2 customers who alleged there was some illegal activity going on. And then the police stopped another 4 customers who all refused there was nothing going on. And then there's a case about there's a worker in the store says, oh, I was forced to do this, I didn't want to do that. And those are serious allegations. So I understand this is the discussion of a revocation of individual license. But in the police report, there was nothing, allegations about Ms. Jan did, like perform all those illegal acts. There was the acts is about against her, was she was the person who forced her to do all these things. And at this point, they're just allegations. And according to the city regulations, if the city regulation section 77.9, the revocation and suspension, particularly there's some like a D, for instance, a licensed criminal conviction, and E, conviction of the therapeutic license licenses. So those all mention convictions. At this point, there is no convictions. So I would ask the city councils maybe suspend it at this point, individual licenses, especially when there was no allegations. We have no objections if you revoke the business license, but as individual licenses, since this case is still going through the court, maybe the city can suspend her license. If she's convicted, go ahead and revoke her. Otherwise, if she's kind of successfully defend her rights, then she doesn't have to take any actions. The city does not have to take any further actions. That's on Ms. John.
All right, thank you. Paul?
All right, my mic on?
Yep.
Looks like I'm coming through. I'd like to point out that within section 77.8, subdivision 13, a therapeutic massage enterprise licensee shall be strictly responsible for the conduct of the business, including conduct of any employee or agent of the licensee on the licensed premises, being in compliance with all applicable laws, ordinances, rules, and regulations. The other item I want to point out is in 77.9, subdivision 1, item G, that notes that conducting the licensed occupation or business in an unlawful manner or in such a manner as to constitute a breach of the peace or to constitute a menace to the health, safety, or general welfare of the community. These are two additional subdivisions that ought to be taken into consideration when making a decision on the part of the council. What we have at this time is we do have an arrest that was following an investigation, and as part of that police investigation, things that were determined through the interviews with patrons, those people volunteered information that they had in fact received illicit sexual acts. And also you have an individual on the premise who makes statements that they were being held against their will to perform these types of acts. The business itself and the owner of the business, those are people who are held strictly responsible under the ordinance. Now, it is the prerogative of the council to decide what they think is appropriate, a suspension, a revocation, or waiting to do nothing. Certainly, it is correct, as has been pointed out by counsel for this individual, that this is a pending criminal matter. So it is up to the council to make a decision on whether that is something substantial enough that you would like to wait, suspend, for example, and see where things resolve with respect to that item. But it is certainly within the option of the council to pursue a revocation. But then you might find yourself confronted with someone attempting to have that revocation revoked or reversed, I suppose is a better language for it, if it turns out that there's no merit to the allegation.
Chief, you got anything?
No, I think Paul covered it pretty well. And I think the ordinance is, as far as I read it, based on our investigation, there's a basis to revoke now, but I guess that would be up to the council.
Council, questions?
So what I'm getting is that we can suspend
Or
and or revoke, or we can suspend with revocation with the upcoming trial that may occur and the conviction, if so?
Sure, I'll try to clarify it this way. There's three options in front of the council. First option is to do nothing today. Second option would be to suspend the license. The impact of that would be after 1 year's time period, or rather suspension can go up until a year, would be the correct way to put that. So after a 1 year time period, assuming that the council chooses to do a suspension for the maximum, then that individual would be able to practice once again. A revocation would remove that, and then I believe the period is 5 years, a period of 5 years before
Yeah, I believe so.
they would be able to, again.
Right.
What I'm reading on the ordinance under subdivision 3G, which is the application process to renew that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but what it says is that an application for a massage therapist license shall request the following information, and under G, it talks about whether the applicant has had an interest, an individual or part of a corporation, partnership, association, massage license that was revoked or suspended within the last 5 years. So I don't know whether or not the suspension or the revocation, what the differences would be as far as how it applies for being able to reapply. And maybe I'm not reading the right section, but that's the point that I
This is just a Waite Park license. They could go to St. Cloud, or they could go to Sauk Center or wherever after this and get a license?
You wouldn't have the ability to impact the policies of another city.
It's just Waite Park?
Correct.
Yep.
Yep. So if theoretically an individual were to leave Waite Park and apply, it would be dependent upon what the ordinances and rules are of that city.
Okay,
So if I were to make a motion, say that, I would like to suspend the license up until the time of the proper, court trial, and if in fact at that court trial, there was wrongdoing found and they were proven guilty, that the license then be revoked?
I think that what you would need to do is you could suspend the license. If we do reach a point in time where a conviction occurs, then you introduce it as a new item to consider it as a revocation. I don't think that you can do a compounded resolution
I
to.
just was trying to make it a little easier to,
Understood, but I think that probably would end up being a little bit stickier of an approach.
Okay.
It'd probably be best not to do a compounded one, and rather, if the motion that you're suggesting is primarily the idea of suspension, to just deal with the suspension portion of it, and then anything else, wait until whatever information or results might come from the criminal case.
because they could come back and ask for the suspension to be raised, and they wouldn't have to go through another check. And the license would become valid if in fact there was no criminal act found.
As far as what we're doing, if this council opts to suspend the license, then that suspension would last for, whatever preference time period the council has, or the maximum period, whatever the ordinance maximum is. And then after that point in time, the suspension would be over. They would be able to practice again. If you find yourself in a situation where a conviction ultimately follows from the court, and that is grounds upon which the council believes that the appropriate act is to revoke the license, that could be accomplished through a new motion, a new agenda item, which would, so there could be a period of time where that suspension ends, and possibly you're dealing with that court case continuing, and they have the ability to, at least with respect to that one instance of suspension, that have possibly the opportunity to continue practicing in their, as a massage therapist. But that could also be an item that could be returned to by the council. The council could look again and say, in light of the fact that this is still a criminal case, and that we have grounds for this suspension to be, a second suspension to be made.
Okay, say for instance, if I say 1 year, 6 months, they've gone to trial and they've not convicted of a criminal act. After that 6 months, could they come back to us then and ask that the suspension be lifted so they could practice again?
They could certainly come in and make that request, and if the council deemed that to be, let's say that whatever information is developed at that time, the council could take that all into consideration and decide that it's appropriate, perhaps some facts come to light, that it'd be appropriate to restore that option. But that would require a special motion by the council to do that.
could that also be done for a revocation?
I think that's automatic.
Could you pose the question to me differently so I understand? You mean if the council were to revoke it, could they unrevoke it?
Yeah,
No, the revocation, that would have a permanent effect.
that's 5 years no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, council, any other questions?
No.
I need to have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6:54. And your wishes?
I would make a motion to suspend the license for a period of 1 year. After that 1 year, if in fact there was a review, that it be reviewed, and maybe go to a possible revocation at that time. Or just go with the plain 1 year suspension.
Second?
Second.
Can I ask a clarifying question to make
Yes,
sure?
let's just go with the
Sure.
1 year suspension, and we'll, after the suspension is over, we can review it if in fact they wanna come back.
I think just a one-year suspension would be sufficient.
Yeah, because they can do the paperwork after.
Because if I understand this correctly, that if they get, after that, then they have to reapply for a license, is that correct?
With respect to the suspension, so if we're looking in 77-9,
Yeah,
subdivision 3, if a massage therapist or therapeutic massage enterprise license holder has his or her license suspended by the city council, license holder may continue his or her licensed activities after the suspension period concludes. The license holder is eligible for renewal of his or her license after the suspension period is served. So you have, just to clarify, this particular license, this has an issue date of, well, it was issued on December 13, 2018, for the one-year period of January 1, 2019 through December 31, 2019. So this license itself, this one will conclude on December 31st, 2019. If you do a one-year suspension of the license, and we're doing that, we'll say today, August 5, then August 5 of 2020 would be the first opportunity to ask for the license to be renewed.
my question on that is that eligible to renew, but would that mean that they would still be required to, follow all of the requirements under the license, which under subdivision 2B, if they've been convicted of any crime directly related to the occupation license prescribed by Minnesota and was shown competent, that if they were ever convicted of that, typically under our license today process for that application, you would not be, there'd be a reason for denial. So my question is that if the license was suspended for a period of the 1 year, and they came back in and renewed that, and they were found, there was a conviction on there, would we have the ability to deny the license application because of the conviction?
I'll see if I have this answer correct. If what happens is the license is suspended today for a period of 1 year, meaning it goes out to August 5 of 2020, and then the individual tries to renew their license, if at that point in time, and just for this conversation, we'll say that they walk in on August 5 of 2020 to renew their license. If at that point in time there is no conviction, then that would not be a grounds to deny the license. If later, we'll just, for purposes of continuity, we'll say that the following day on August 6th, there is a conviction. Now you have an individual who is holding a license without meeting the terms required to meet the license, because you do have the option to revoke a license underneath 77-9 subdivision 1, item D, a licensee's criminal conviction directly related to the occupation. So they could conceivably try to renew their license on August 5 of 2020. And let's pretend that on that particular day, their license is immediately approved within moments of receiving the application. We're just putting that out to put together our timeline. Then on August 6th, there is a criminal conviction. On August 6th, by 77-9 subdivision 1, we now have someone who has a criminal conviction related to their license. You now have grounds to revoke that license. So what could happen is a new item for the agenda could be put on to revoke the license on the grounds that a criminal conviction now exists. You'd be able to do it at that time.
At this time, we have the right for revocation, do we not?
You do have you do have that in front of you as an option. So I suppose what we're considering today is, given the information that's been provided, what seems to be the most appropriate conduct to give towards an individual who has not yet been convicted. Is the police report and the investigation, is that sufficient for the council to pursue a revocation now? Or does the council want to use that to pursue a suspension, and then if this individual is convicted, use that as a grounds for revocation?
Motion, or my motion will stay then?
The
You have a
motion,
motion and a second.
you have a
We're
motion
in
and a
discussion right now.
yeah,
We had a second?
yeah,
We're
you
in
do.
discussion right now.
Your motion is to suspend it for 1 year from, I'm assuming from August
Today's date.
5th. So August 5th, 2020.
I won't vote for that. I think it should be revoked. I don't believe that these individuals didn't know what they were doing. I think if I worked at a place and they were doing something that I thought was illegal or knew was illegal, was immoral, whatever you want to call it, I would leave. I would go work for somebody else. You have a license. If I'm an electrician and I have an electrical license and I work for John's Electric, hopefully there's no John's Electric in the area, and I don't like what they're doing, I'll go work for Pete's Electric. You had that choice. So I will not approve that. That doesn't mean it won't get passed, but I would not approve that. I would move I can't move that now, but I would have moved to revoke it for 5 years. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
Aye. Dies for lack of second. I'll move that we revoke the license for a period of 5 years.
Second.
I'm not voting for the motion.
Nothing will get done if we don't do something.
Then it sits. Well, you have a motion and a second. Call the vote.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Yep.
What are we gonna do? We're not gonna let them walk out of here tonight.
I guess from the recommendation from, what I hear from our attorney is that we use the suspension as the first tool of discipline, due to the fact that it most likely will not be fought or brought up to us in court. We can always revoke at a later time.
Why do you wanna go through that hassle? Why do you wanna, why do you
It'll
want?
take us 2 minutes to go through a
Who's
revocation
gonna,
at a later time.
who's gonna keep track of that?
Shauna,
I knew that was
who
coming.
takes care of our licensing? Plain and simple.
Well, between police and Jesse. Just a suggestion, you do have the ability to put a time period on a suspension. If there would be some compromise in the middle, if that's something that you're looking to do, that if some aren't comfortable with 1 year, but maybe you would be comfortable with something a little bit longer than that you could maybe look at. The suspension period of time, you have the ability to set that, I believe, in what I've read.
My concern is that the suspension doesn't send enough of a message.
But there also hasn't been a conviction.
We don't need a conviction.
I do.
I think it's a good, I
Do
mean,
more than a year? Do 2?
It says under
Or December 30th.
city council may
31st
continue,
of 2020.
suspension period
Make that
concludes.
motion.
All right, we're gonna fire a new motion.
Wait, let me just verify that. I believe that the council has the ability to set the period of the suspension. If you look under subdivision 3
Which,
of
77 point?
77.9. And it says that the license holder has his or her license suspended by the city council. The license holder may continue his or her license activities after the suspension period concludes. The license holder is eligible for renewal of his or her license after the suspension period is served. So it doesn't give the amount of time of that license, so I believe that's up to the council to determine the length of the suspension.
Looking through that, I don't see a time period listed within the ordinance. A longer suspension would probably be permissible, given that there is no definition for it. As long as that longer time period wasn't something arbitrary, or, for example, you have the concept of if a license is revoked, that no one can reapply for a 5-year period. I would think that it would be a difficult thing to try and do something hypothetically, like suspending a license for more than 5 years.
Great. Okay, Frank?
you have a question?
I'm gonna make a motion to suspend a license through December 31st of 2020.
There a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. You got lucky. We would have had our fifth council member here tonight. I don't think you'd have been quite so lucky. I don't speak for him, but, all right, item D, item D, consider massage therapist license revocation for Miss Yang.
I'm not representing her. I don't know I'm not representing
She's not even here?
She's not here.
Okay, motion,
Same motion as previous.
and she's not even here to defend herself?
I think you should just state that motion just for purpose.
Public hearing's open, head.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta
You
have a public
Follow
hearing.
the process, yeah.
7:04, 7:04. Is there a second to that motion? Open it?
Second.
Oh, yeah. I'm
All right, it's
sorry.
open at 7:04. Now, what's your wishes for her?
We have to close it.
No,
You have anybody here?
we can hear her.
Nobody here? Nobody here?
Nobody's here.
I would like to make the same previous.
Close it for
No.
7:05.
No, we have to close it.
Well, that's what he was asking.
I know, but I wanted somebody.
7:06.
7:06, all right. So is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's closed at 7:06. Now, Mike, go ahead.
I'll make the same motion as the previous council member.
Can you just
Before-
state it?
Same date,
Repeat it.
To revoke the license.
revoke the license till.
Nope, suspend. If you're
Suspend.
Oh,
Suspend,
I'm sorry, yeah.
gonna
Boy, there
revoke
we
this
go.
for 5 years.
suspend the license up till 12/31.
One.
For a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? I really don't,
I'd just like to go on record that I think it's an inadequate.
I agree. I
I
think
think it's terribly inadequate.
it's inadequate, and she didn't even have the audacity to come tonight, so that bothers me more than the other ones that at least made an attempt to come tonight, have consult. I know where it's gonna go if I vote against this. It's gonna go to a 2-2 tie, and I don't wanna redo this. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And I got one more. Item E, consider massage therapist license revocation for Miss, I'm gonna go, Xiao
Xiao Juan,
Twin. I'll
That-
get him yet, one of these days.
that I represent. My name is Dan Zhou. I represent Xiao
Open the
Juan.
public
Oh.
hearing, please,
Oh.
first, sorry.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Oh, move to
Open the public-
open the public hearing at 7:07.
Second.
All right, now go ahead, sir.
Thank you, mayors, and thank you, council members. And I represent Zhao Xuan in this hearing. I think this is drastically different from what we have encountered in my first presentation. If I may approach the mayor and council, I have one exhibit, maybe I will let the.
Put it underneath.
Right underneath there.
Give it to
see that
the
red
clerk,
dot?
and she can put it underneath.
Oh, okay. The,
Can't read it.
Oh, yeah, it'll straighten up.
yeah,
Read
I
it
will
there.
read it.
Oh, I see it. I'm sorry.
Oh,
We
you
got
I
it.
got it.
I'll read it in a minute. Let me just do a little bit introduction of this business. This business, Xiaojun has owned this business for the past 5 years, starting October 2014 to May 2019. So this business has served the customers very well. Take a look at this customer review. It says, best deep tissue massage in a while. Okay, not a place modest though, deep tissue. It's usually customers are kind of taking all their clothes off and oil massage. And so in this one, somebody, he feels, take a look at it. The woman found every knot in my bag. So, but clearly this is a customer who likes it. It's a deep tissue, really, really good for this person. And, but they also say it's rough, you gotta, this. So this tells you that this business has been in Wake Forest for 5 years. And now it's all started, you have the police report. It all started back in, according to the police report, it started in 2019. There are 2 days in April. For all those years, there are 2 reports. April 29, for April 17, April 20, there are reports that some illicit activity going on. And the sheriff also know that there's one in 2018, January 2016. Among all the reports, there's 3 reports saying something going on. Now, the sheriff is monitoring this place, and the sheriff's comment is there's an old man going into this business. I don't see any women going into business. Now, in the police report, on page, on my page is page 11, on the day of the police action, they found a woman, a female, in this premises, and this is her second time receiving massages. And then the police stopped the customer saying, they do a traffic stop to say, what's going on here? Now, the police stopped, according to the record, 2 people. One says, no, nothing happened. The other other customer that was stopped by the police, dear Mayor, take a look at the report. Now, look at how the police are questioning. The police are basically questioning the customers, saying, you're the first one who said you never did this. The police stopped. We don't have any reports whether the police how many people stopped. The police would say, you're the first one that said, okay, word to word on page 2 of the police report. He says, you'd be the first person I ever stopped coming out there that did not receive him, what do you call it? I'm not gonna looking to get you into trouble. This is what the police said. And the police said, well, just like said, you will be the first one I ever talked to that did not. That's about on second page 12, after about a few minutes talk. And then there's another one. Okay, and you know what? I'm gonna get a search warrant. I'm gonna go find the store. I'm gonna find DNA. You know, I will bet. I will mouse swap your mouse. So all the police statement, and then a few pages back, you say the last thing you need is your business here know that you've been here. So it goes all kind of interrogating what is going on and what the police get. And the customer says, well, probably, and something to say, oh, I didn't know there's illegal activity going on. I'm not going to get back again. That's on the report. The other report of the stopping of the customers basically say, no, never did it. And also the investigation of the people working in there, the police said, I'm not going to get into trouble. Tell me what you did. And the woman said, I never did it. We don't do it here. I think that's why probably because this case is not charged out, because there was just not enough probable cause to charge her out. Now, this business has been closed. My client, Xiao Juan, is not contesting. You know, even on this basis, she's not even contesting to ask you to reopen the businesses or the business licenses. She wants it back. But she wants to be able to keep her personal license because in all these allegations, there's no allegations about her doing anything. Her as a manager, there are 3 women in it. And there's 2 women that was later found that didn't have any license. But I talked with her. She said they all had their licenses. So in this case, it's not, there's no personal wrongdoing in the whole businesses. And considering the long period of time, considering services that these people, they spend like 500 hours get the license. It's not easy to get a license. So I would respectfully ask this council members not to take any actions in terms of personal license. Go ahead and revoke the business license if there's a police wants to do it. We're not going to fight even that, even though the police have not charged out. But we're not even going to go that. You know, that's going to be a hard fight for us. But we're asking this council to consider the amount of time that's put in by the masseuse in it, and it's how hard it is to, if this license get revoked here, she's not going to be able to get licensed anywhere in the 13 counties around the metropolitan areas. Most of them are having the same regulations: revocation a year, suspension a year, revocation 5 years. That's what it is. So thank you so much, council members.
Thank you. Council?
Move to close the public hearing.
Yep. You want to hear from Paul?
Yeah.
Couple of items of clarification. My understanding is that the business license has already been revoked.
That's
There was no contest of that, so that item has already been resolved. As I mentioned previously, when we were dealing with one of the other licenses, you do have under 77.8 subdivision 13 that the owner of the business is held liable for any conduct of anybody who works at the business. So whether the owner was involved or whether there was anything in the investigation that tied the owner directly to any of these acts, as far as the ordinance is written, that's not really a relevant consideration. If they own the business, they're presumed to be aware of what's going on in the business, and they're held liable with respect to their license. You have the statements collected by the police officers, by the individuals that were interviewed by the police officers, acknowledging that they had received sex acts there. And you have a number of telephone calls that have been provided to the police stating that there have been sex acts going on at this place. You also have the investigation of the police officers indicating that people at the business acknowledged that they were entirely naked, which is not permissible according to your ordinances. If an individual is receiving a massage, their genitalia have to be completely covered by an opaque cloth, or at a minimum. It's just, I mean, whether it's a requirement that they wear underwear or whether they're covered by a towel, the ordinance, I don't believe, is specific to that point, but says that they do need to be covered. And you have individuals who, from the police report, were indicating that they were not.
All right. So I want to move to close the public hearing
So moved.
Second.
at 7:16.
16.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Your wishes, council.
Is this the owner?
In order to,
Move for revocation of the license of this particular person due to the fact that she was the owner and
Should have been.
our ordinance should be well aware of what's going on within the business.
Second.
further discussion.
Shawna?
The only statement I want to make so that you understand that is the owner was also, of the Oriental Massage was Sue Fain, and I apologize for the first one that you have on here was also the owner.
I was not aware of that.
We're talking about Q&S massage.
Right,
No.
I'm just saying that he's making a point of, I'm just wanting to make sure that you're aware of that as you consider that.
We're not treating them all
Your
equal.
choice.
I was not aware of that.
But we can kill the motion real quick.
You have a second?
I know, we can kill it real quick with a vote.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. The only reason I vote aye on that is because, again, I think we should make all three the same. You want to make a new motion?
Well, yeah, like I said, I was not aware that the first one was. Otherwise, the motion probably would have went the other
Either
way.
way.
And I guess I have to apologize for that, but we'll make the same 12/31 to 20 suspension.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
3-1. Okay. Item 6, approved bills and other, approved bills.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. There was no one at the public input, so there is no summary. Shawna? Anything besides the last item?
I do not.
All right. Oops, I just threw all my paperwork away. All right, item under administration. This hearing will be closed. This meeting will be closed at this time. So I need everyone to leave except people that are involved in this. The agenda item is evaluation of the performance of a City of Wake Park employee under Minnesota statute, section 13D05, subdivision 3, clause A. The employee, do I get the employee's name?
Yep.
It's Todd Weirs. Mr. Weirs received written notice of this meeting. If request to open a meeting made by Mr. Weirs, proceed on. There was no request for an open or close, for an open meeting. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting for the evaluation of performance of Todd Weirs as a City of Way Park employee under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05 Subdivision 3A.
So
So moved. Second,
I got it.
second.
All right,
Pick one.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. The time now is 7:20.
Shall we wait, yeah?